I would like to welcome everybody here. It's nice to see such a wonderful crowd, and I know it's getting snow, but I don't think it's going to amount to much, so I just enjoy being in here. I like to let people know that we are a nonprofit arts organization, and we do have a donation jar in the back if you feel so inclined. But the really exciting thing today is our guest speaker, who is Martha Vera, and she is an Honorary Consul of Spain, and she has been, I'm going to let her tell you a lot about herself, because my list for about her is about this long. She's done a lot of wonderful things. And she's going to talk to us about Sor Maria de Agreda, which is someone that we've known about here for quite a long time, and has become part of our culture here in Mount Mayor. So without further ado, Martha.
Thank you so much, Anne, and the Manzano Mountain Arts Council. Thank you all for being here. I am so honored to have so many beautiful faces out there. Anne asked me to speak about my favorite subject. I've been studying Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda since 2013. I have visited Spain and have gone to her convent every year, twice and sometimes 3 times a year. Were any of you here in 2012 when the delegation from Spain actually came here? You might be in the picture. Yes, you all might be in the picture. So afterwards, after we get started talking about her, we can go ahead and take a look at that poster, because you will probably find yourselves there. Well, you know, a lot has changed since 2012. There have been 2 congresses in Rome about her. She is still a venerable, and she has not been beatified. And we all wonder why. Well, one of the years that I went to the Vatican, my husband and I went that year, we found out that part of it was that she had written the mystical city of God. Well, what's wrong with the mystical city of God? They felt that the mystical city of God was really the womb of the Virgin Mary. And if she was a virgin, she would have not had Jesus the way other women had Jesus. That was something according to Thomas Aquinas. So they're still studying all of that, right? This last time that I went, which was just last year, we had another congress, and I wish I could show you these pictures, but afterwards you guys can come up here and take a look at them, because they are quite amazing. Some of the things that we have actually been able to find in the last few years on Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda. So a lot of you know that Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda had a very special childhood. You know that when she was a little girl, well, let's start with her parents. Her parents were incredible. Her parents were converted Jews. They converted at the age of 12. Their parents were gone. They left their farms, and they found themselves in Agreda. They actually lived in the countryside, growing sheep. They both were praying for someone that loved God as much as they did. And they ended up at one of the churches, and they found each other. They got married, and they had 11 kids. Of the 11 kids, only 4 of them survived. Disease, infection, things like that. And so, so Maria de Jesus de Agreda was actually the eldest. And her wish as a 4-year-old was to see her guardian angels. And she saw her guardian angels. And she started to grow. And she said she had 6 of them. Well, her 6 guardian angels taught her how to read and write. That was something that, you know, the priest would come and confess her, because she had all kinds of stories about what she would see. And so she was considered a mystic. As she started growing, when she was 8 years old, she decided she was going to be a nun and told her mom that that's what she wanted to do. Her mother had a dream. And that dream, do you all know what it was? Let's change our house to be a convent. And not only that, my husband and my sons are going to go become monks, and we're going to become nuns. So that was her dream. She told her husband about it, and he thought she was a little bit off her rocker, of course, and said absolutely not. And after a while, he had that same dream. And he said, you know, God has been so good to us. He's given us a family. We survived. We've done very well for ourselves. We've been able to be charitable with the poor in our community. So it's probably time that we gave our lives to God. So they went ahead and did that. They had a great big ceremony. The house was converted into a convent. The sisters from Burgos came and kind of set everything up. And they said, well, what kind of nuns do you want to be? And she said, well, we would like to be descalzas, which means shoeless. And we wanted to be of the Immaculate Conception. So they said, okay. So they brought the nuns in to train them. And time passed. 10 years later, 18 years old, she is a novice, and she graduates. And during prayer and during Mass, she is kneeling, and what happens? Does anybody know? She levitates. She begins to levitate by herself, and people are watching her, and it continues every weekend. Every weekend, more people start coming to church. And, you know, it starts attracting people to come and watch her levitate. And the priest tells her, you know something, you need to stop whatever it is that you're doing. And how are you doing that? She said, I have no idea. He said, well, you better pray for it to stop. She prayed for it to stop. And she got an even bigger gift. A gift that we got here in Salinas, in Mount Air. Because her prayer was to focus on her father and her brothers. She was afraid that they were going to be sent to the New World and that they were going to be hurt by the Indians. So she was praying one night, and she says that she heard God tell her, come with me. I am going to show you that world. And she said that he brought her in the palm of his hand and said, see those people down there? They need to be in the family of God because they are my children too. So this meant the pueblos. That was her first connection to the indigenous in our area. She started praying in her convent, in her little cell, and she would have these visions of coming to the New World. And what she says in the 5th volume that I'm translating right now, that will be out pretty soon, she said that she wanted to help the natives that she saw here. And she started evangelizing them. She started bringing rosaries with her. And she would bring the rosaries and give them to the people. And she started giving them catechism. Well, here's the odd thing. She did not speak their language, and they did not speak Spanish. Yet they understood each other, which was really amazing. So, back in Spain, what does she have to do every week? Confess to the priest. So she tells the priest, I'm going to this new land, and I see these new people, and I'm teaching them to pray, and I'm going to get them to be baptized. And so she's preparing the people, and she says, I want you to take a cross with flowers, and you're going to take it to the mission. What was the first mission around here? Right, where Isleta is right now. And who was the priest there? Does anybody know? Father Benavides. Who's there? And so back in Spain, she's confessing, and the priests are thinking, she's really off her rocker, and maybe this is not the place for her. And here, the Indians start showing up at the mission, and the priests are actually pretty scared because they're coming by the thousands to be baptized. And they're carrying the cross with the flowers. She has told them what to do. She can see everything. So she can see the priests that are here, but the priests can't see her. So the natives can see that she's with them. And so it wasn't just here. She bilocated. That's what that means. Bilocation is that you can be in two places at one time. So she was able to come and visit over 500 times and many different tribes. So I'm actually going to let you know the different tribes that she lists in her book. When, the fifth volume that I'm translating is actually the Inquisition's questioning of her. So it's basically kind of an autobiography because she's answering questions that they have about her, and she's answering these questions herself. So she, between 1620 and 1624, so Maria visited the Piro. Does anybody know who the Piro are? Piro Indians. Chillescas, Chambusos, Yumanas, Kingdom of the Fidas, Kingdom of Nuevo Mexico, and the word for kingdom is Reinado, Kingdom of Yumanas, Kingdom of Quivira, and the Hopi. This is just like in our area here. So we know that New Mexico, where are the Hopi? The Hopi are in Arizona, right? And in Texas, the Cano saw her. So a lot of us think that La Gran Quivira was where she appeared. But in my book, I'm actually thinking that her Quivira was the Quivira of Coronado, which was the route through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Because we don't have any data from Oklahoma and Kansas. And in a lot of parts of Texas, except for the Caddo. So what do the Caddo do? The Caddo, today, even today, when they die, they wrap themselves in a blue cloak, pretty much like Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda did. And does everybody knows what she looks like, correct? No, she had her habit was kind of white with a blue cloak and a black head covering. So that was what she had. So she appears about 500 times. She gets many of the natives to be baptized. And she feels, I need to tell myself, I need to pray that this extraordinaries, or something like that, would happen to her. So she said she wanted to have it stop. So after it stops, and she's very prayerful, probably the most important part between that part and her next extraordinary, I can't remember how to say that word, exterioridad, I can say it in Spanish, she decides that she is going to kind of go introspective and go into herself. She decides and she writes a lot about God being the truth, because one of the things that the priests were asking her is, how did you bilocate? How did you do this? How did you hear God's voice? What's happening? And she really didn't know. But she said that she knew that the key were two things: love and truth. She said, God is love and God is truth. I cannot step outside of my truth. She was very, very careful to make sure she was always telling the truth, because she was afraid to find disfavor with God and not be able to see him or hear him again. So, what happened next? Next, she got a vision from Our Lady, the Virgin Mary. And she said, so Maria, I want you to write the book about my life with my son Jesus. So that is the Mystical City of God. It was a 4-volume book, and you can find it on Amazon, and you can read about that. It is translated into English. And so she wrote that book. When she was doing her confessions to the priest, they told her to burn the book. And she did. She burned the book. But remember when we were talking about Father Benavides being out here? He was so interested in finding out who she was and where she lived, because this was a miracle. So he ends up going to Spain. When he went to Spain, he goes to the king, King Philip IV. And he said, do you know this sister? Do you know who the lady in blue is? And they said, no, I don't know. They said, well, Rome already sent me a letter and said that there's somebody here in Spain that says that she sees Indians. And so he said, well, I don't know about that, but I'm coming with you because Spain needs a lot of help, right? So they end up finding her, and Father Benavides starts asking her questions. So, what did you see? And she said, yes, you were there, and you were there, and so was the other redheaded guy with the long beard, stuff like that. She said, oh, and then in another pueblo, Father Salas got killed by some of the friendly natives, and his bones were put in a case so that they could be worshipped. And he said, he was going like, oh my God, you wouldn't have known that had you not been there. So then the king starts asking her and says, I need to write you because I am having problems with my country, with Spain. And he said, well, she said, you're having problems with your country because you are not faithful to God. In fact, you're a big sinner, and you need to repent, and you need to stop what you're doing, which is having children all over the countryside. So he decided to stop. What ended up happening is he ended up losing his son, losing his daughter. They all died of disease, and his wife. So it was a very sad thing, and he knew that it was probably punishment, or he felt that it was punishment. Although somebody said, you know what you need to do is you need to go back and think about your countrymen Think about the people that live here. And you need to help them because you're overtaxing. Don't tax them anymore. So she became the advisor of the king. They wrote 600 letters to each other that are still in the archives at the convent of Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda. Has anybody here ever been to Spain? Has anybody been to Agreda? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So, and you saw the letters. Did you get to see them? Yes. So the way that they would write each other letters is that the king would write on one side because he had a lot of questions, and she would answer him on the other side, which was really a very good way of keeping track of her responses to him. So those are still there. What else is still there? Do you remember the beautiful things that she did leave for us after she died at the age of 64? Do you remember?
There were some beautiful vestments and stuff that had like embroidery of the stuff that you would find here in New Mexico.
Absolutely. So I have pictures of all of that, so I'll have you all scroll through so that you can see the vestments, because she embroidered roadrunners and hollyhocks, which we didn't have in Spain. So everything that she saw here, including Indian symbols. So for the vestments for the priests, she had Indian symbols that she would, I mean, I have no idea when she had time to do all of this. But she embroidered, she wrote. And she wrote many, many books, not just the Mystical City of God. And so I feel very blessed to do this. Some of her exercises that she would do was very, very interesting. She was very hard on herself. Her father had an iron cross that he would carry praying the rosary. Well, she started doing that in her convent, which she actually built a separate convent. So when you go to Agreda, you can visit her home, where the first convent was. The second convent is beautiful and big and has a wonderful chapel. And she lies in state there because her body is incorruptible. And you'll be able to see that as well. So she used to pray with that cross, but she would do it on her knees. And there was no floor, it was just dirt. So she was always scratched and scraped and worked very hard in her garden as well. So one of the things that you all have here, I think is very, very special, that we can continue to keep alive. I don't know if your churches here or your missions do anything to continue to honor Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda. But if you do, please let me know, because we need to let Rome know what's going on. I told you that I was just there not too long ago, and one of the things that happened to me in 2022, 2023, and in 2023, I decided I was going to go visit ex-Monsignor or retired Monsignor Malcolm Neeland in Post, Texas. So Malcolm Neeland had a friend who was the mayor of Post, and he had a huge ranch, and this ranch used to belong to CF Post. Does anybody know who that is? Who made Post Toasties? Yes, so he was the Post Toasties czar, right? He ended up killing himself, and he left this huge ranch. His daughter didn't want it and sold it to this mayor. So lo and behold, Malcolm is now like 85 years old. And in that year, I was driving back from Austin from visiting my son, and I get a phone call. And this young girl says, my name is Molly, and I am looking for Martha Vera. Is this Martha Vera? I said, yes, it is. And she said, well, we know that you are the person who is an expert on Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda. We need to find you, and we need you to come and take a look at some petroglyphs of what we think are Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda in post. And we need to try to find Malcolm Nealand, because there was an orthopedic surgeon, the orthopedic surgeon and the radiologist, who happened to be the deacon of the church, were very good friends. And Malcolm had retired from being the chaplain at Texas Tech Health Sciences Center in Lubbock. So I said, well, I think I can find him. I did, I found him. And I said, Malcolm, you know, I got this call, or Monsignor. He said, no, I'm not a Monsignor anymore. I actually retired from my position as Monsignor, and I recently got married. So I said, that's really wonderful. You actually got all of your, all sacraments. And he said, yes. I mean, that was a blessing for me. So he said, you better hurry up and get over here before anything happens to me. And I said, okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. I went there in 2023, and I found 2 different types of petroglyphs. One of them, which I am sure was a fake, and one of them, which is real. So it was in a very hidden place of this overhang, kind of a cave overhang, that you'll be able to see here as well. What else did Monsignor find when he was a Monsignor? He worked for John Paul, and he did all of the art exhibits from the Vatican to the United States. So he had an exhibit in South Carolina, he had an exhibit in New Orleans. I mean, there were several of them in really huge cities. He became very good friends with Pope John Paul, and Pope John Paul said, I have this letter that I want you to read, and I would like to see if maybe you can find this artifact in New Mexico. And he said, well, I don't know how to speak Spanish, I don't know how to read Spanish. And he said, well, get somebody to translate it for you. They translated a letter that said that the natives that had gone to ask for baptism had made a cross of tightly woven yucca that was covered in flowers, probably wild flowers. And after they were baptized, they took the cross and they buried it between 2 walls. Guess where that was? Abo. Right here in your backyard. He sent it to the Vatican, and when we were there, we tried to look for it. We didn't find it, and I think what he needs to do is he needs to find the person who was the archaeologist at that time. Because who knows who's there anymore, and they have so many things. But that cross he found. I said, did you take any pictures? I mean, I would have been taking pictures. He did not, he just sent it in. Also in here, I have, not only was she commemorated in petroglyphs, she was also commemorated in pictograms. And so if any of you know any of the sacred places around here, or have ever seen any of these, I'm going to show you some of these. It's sad that I can't get this projector to work. I'll have to do that again. But as I said, you all are welcome to come up here, and I'll show these to you. The other thing that was found was a painting in Austin in the front yard next to a garbage can, and it was a very, very old painting. One of these young ladies is interested in Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda there as well. said that she saw this painting and she said, oh my gosh, that looks familiar. So she just picked it up off the ground and took it with her. It ended up being a murillo. She has it. I think they're trying to evaluate it because she was trying to sell it, or I don't know if Spain will take it back. But that was another thing that was found. Does anybody know about San Angelo, Texas? Okay, San Angelo is another place where they think she may have gone to have natives baptized or sent people to the river, and also visited the natives there. But in San Angelo, they've made a beautiful statue of her giving the cross to a young girl. So I've got that here as well. Does anybody like to cook? Does anybody watch Pati Hinich for the Mexican cook? So she was in Arizona and in Sonora doing a show about tacos. And she meets some artists out there and she said, well, what are you guys doing here? I said, oh, we're painting this lady in blue because this lady in blue is appearing to a lot of these immigrants that are actually dying in the desert. So they were being left there by coyotes to die, and she would tell them where the water was. And so the immigrants weren't able to come here, but they all kind of huddled together in this art space to paint what they saw. So she is alive and well. And so I recommend, if you all hear anything about any miracles, because she is performing them, about any apparitions, because an apparition would be something that happened after her death, not like a bilocation while she was still alive. That's also important. The things that we do know now is that she has been able to prove to the church that she is worthy of becoming a saint, of being beatified. And so we are still working on that. The last year, the vice postulate priest, Stefano Cecchini, who you will also see in these pictures, told me, well, now it's because, she was in the political realm helping the king with his country. I said, isn't the Pope in the political realm all the time, helping people or, making comments? I mean, this happens all the time. So I think it was great that he had her as a spiritual advisor and also an advisor to do the right thing for his country because it was going south. Anyway, as I said, Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda is one of my favorite people to talk about. And as soon as my book is finished, I'll come back and it'll be in English so that all of you can read it and use it because it has many useful things here for us in today's time. Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Yes.
Is the projector able to connect to your laptop so we can see those photographs?
We tried and it just didn't work. We couldn't get it to work.
Okay.
There's got to be something else I'm not pushing somewhere.
You can come up and see it on your laptop, though.
But yeah.
I'm trying to get it for the recording for the website.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I can do? I can send you the presentation.
Great. That would be great.
Okay.
We'll talk.
Yes, and that way you all can have the pictures. You can print them out. You can, put them up on the wall, and have them here for remembrance. Because you guys live in a really amazing place. I would be happy to live in a place where I could say she walked here. In Texas, there is a legend about the blue bonnet, and so the blue bonnet is supposed to be Sor Maria's flower, because it looks like her cape and her habit. So the natives there call the bluebonnet Sor Maria. So thank you all for having me here. And do you have any other questions? Yes.
How did you, in your earlier life, get into this whole area of work?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, Sor Maria has a way of reeling you in. When I started, when I became appointed as an honorary consul, part of my job was to tell our story. Well, you know, Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda was a big part of the story because she was part of faith. You know, the first Franciscan friars to come here and evangelize, there were 9 of them. And one person would go with the pueblo. And we know that there's a lot more pueblos than that. So they had a lot of work. And they could not always be there. So Sor Maria was part of her work was to come and help them. Some of those priests were getting killed, as we know. And so I became more and more interested, and I told my husband, we've got to go visit her convent. And so we went, and it was very interesting because we walked into the convent, and I told, you know, there was nobody there because it's, what do you call it when they're cloistered? Yes, you can't see them. So you can't see them. When we walked into the shop, we walked in and I kind of pulled this long tassel and they said, Ave Maria Purissima. It's like Hail Mary, the pure. And the response is, sin pecado original concebida, without original sin. And so I said that back to them. And they said, oh, what are you doing here? I said, well, you know, I studied the Camino real de Tierra Adentro. And she said, oh, you're Martha Vera. My husband's mouth just went like, yes. So they were waiting for me. They said, well, we've been waiting for you. We just thought you would be here later. So I go and visit them. Isleta Pueblo del Sur has gifted them with a piano because when I was telling you about San Angelo, does anybody know the song, Jose Cuerpo, you are a friend of mine? No? Yes, okay. Well, the lady that wrote that song, Cindy Jordan, actually kind of turned her life around and wrote a musical about Sor Maria de Jesus de Agreda. She invited me to go to her opening, and like 2 weeks before she said, you know something, the guy who's going to translate the music, he can't do it. He's in the hospital. Can you translate it? And I said, well, yes. Do you want me to translate it so you can sing it, or do you want me to translate it just so people can know what it means? She said, no, so you can sing it. I said, okay. So I translated it. I went and sang it for her. And she started crying and she said, you need to sing that for the sisters in Agreda because they've always heard my music in English. They have no idea what it means. So I said, okay, Cindy, well, I'm gonna go in August. Do you wanna go? And she said, yeah, let's go. We'll tell the sisters. So I told the sisters. They set up like a recital. And I thought it was just for the sisters, which there were like 10 of them, right? So I go in there and walk in, and the place is packed. The whole church. There are ambassadors, there are senators, there are bishops and archbishops there. And the person who's her vice postulator. And so I was like, well, okay. So we're gonna sing for the whole group. We sang there, And that was when our invitation to sing in Rome happened. So we got to sing in Rome, in Toledo, in Madrid, and Agreda that year. So
And you're singing with the nuns.
yes, well, not with the nuns. We were singing for them.
For them.
There was one song which we sang with the nuns, but yeah, every time I go there, they have me sing the songs. But yes,
Well, I know that Martha was an opera singer at one point in her life.
yes.
Can you sing?
Yeah, can you sing us a song?
Well, let's see if I can remember one like off the bat. Okay. Let's see if I can even do it because I've had a little bit of it. Escribo palabras en los oídos. Yeah, my voice is not quite all there yet. Son de ella, susurrando con su canción en mi ser, sorprendiente, guía la pluma en mi mano. Somos como una, mi alma escucha su voz, maravillada, asombrada, siento que en sueño estoy con su canción, escucho su voz, guiándome con su amor dulce. Escribo palabras y no son mías, son de ella, susurrando con su canción en mi ser. Dulce son, yo soy su verdad. Escribo la mística ciudad de Dios. Okay. That was pretty bad, but I really got into it. And so what that is I write. It's I write words, but they're not mine. They are her words. And softly, she tells me what to write. With her song in my mind, I am marveled and astounded. I feel like I'm in a dream. With her song, I hear her voice guiding me to write her words. So, and it's this beautiful, sweet song. You are my messenger. So, that was it. So, thank you. Okay,
my name is Dr. Vera. I'm sometimes known as Mr. Martha Vera. She's very committed to this project. She's trying to get the Camino Real from the United States, side to be a World Heritage Site, and it's become quite a battle of sorts. Politics being politics. But I think it's going to be done. The Camino Real in Mexico from where is it?
Mexico City.
From Mexico City to the United States, to near El Paso, is already a World Heritage Site. We're just trying to get it, extended up to near Santa Fe. And that will help bring a lot of attention to this, because it's really a remarkable achievement that the Spaniards were able to do to bring civilization to this area. She's really committed to this. I'm reminded I was a young doctor one time, 28 years old, and one of my professors, he was not only my professor, but he was also dean of the medical school, and he was a colonel in the army, and he was pretty rough and around the edges, and he was trying to teach me that medicine is a commitment. It's not just being involved. It's a commitment. And he asked me, "You know the difference between involvement and commitment?" I said, "Yes." And he yelled at me and said, "No, you don't." Okay, teach me, just don't hit me. So he said, "Well, it's like your breakfast in the morning, steak and eggs." And I said, I still don't get it. And he goes, "Of course you don't." He said the difference between involvement and commitment is that the chicken was involved in your breakfast and the cow was committed. So then I said, I understand what medicine is now. Well, she's not a cow, but she's fully invested in this plan to help somebody sainthood, and she's writing her book, or translating her book, and she's working on the Camino Real, and she's doing a lot of other projects. She goes into the room, and she's there for 8 hours a day, just writing and researching. So, if any of you are interested, want to become involved, you can probably get more insight through her commitment into this project. Give her an email or a ring. That's all.
Thank you all. Thank you for inviting us, and it was a pleasure to be here with you. Yes?
What's your email?
It's Consul Spain, C-O-N, as in Nancy, S-U-L, Spain, @gmail.com. And Anne does have my email, so I'm pretty sure she can share that as well. Yes?
No, I was just
Okay.
saying this. I'm Ann, I do have her email.
And as evidence to her commitment, she had major surgery 3 days ago. And she made the effort to get here. So that's
Do you have a Facebook page as well?
I do, and it's just Martha Vera. So, and I also have one called Honorary Consul of Spain
Okay,
in El Paso.
thank you.
But I will have a website for you all, and I will send that to Anne as well. I'm getting that set up, and so it'll have all of the projects, the Camino Real project. I also wanted to thank and mention Mr. Daniel Ortiz, who is working on a film called Hispanic America, and The Untold Story. And so there's a lot of untold histories and things that we have that are just very rich for our whole areas here. And I'm hoping that once we do get the designation, the UNESCO designation as a World Heritage Site for outstanding world value for the Camino, it's going to help a lot of communities all over New Mexico.
You teach at a university, or have you?
I have.
Which university?
I taught at UTEP and I taught at El Paso Community College, and right now I'm doing a fellowship project with the University of Texas at El Paso, the Hunt Institute for Global Competitiveness, and my part of this is on the Camino Real de Tierra Adentro and its impact on economic growth. So yes,
Yes, ma'am. How far north are you taking the Camino Real?
we're going to take it all the way to San Juan de los Caballeros, Oquillominque,
San Juan Pueblo.
San Juan Pueblo. Yes. Yes. And if any of you all know of any of the pueblos that might have Like I said, any of the petroglyphs or pictograms, it would be wonderful that we could start to catalog them. Okay? Great.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.